This machine gets a lot of neglect, and we're going to start by cleaning it up because it's just a mess of shavings and garbage here. There's just metal shavings everywhere. There's metal shavings here. There's metal shavings there. Just all over through here. All these metal shavings were coated in coolant, and then the coolant dries on the machine and the metal rusts and the machine rusts, and it's just quickly reducing the life of the saw. All of this metal shavings should get cleaned up at the end of every day, and even several times throughout the day if you're doing a lot of metal cutting. It should never be left like this. And that includes getting the metal shavings out of these troughs where the water runs off and recirculates, but it needs to be kept cleaner than it is. So we're gonna start by doing that. If I thought that was an awful condition to leave the machine, imagine how I reacted 3 months later when every stagecraft student using the machine chose to never clean it. This machine requires daily cleaning. Don't do this with the cold cut saw. All of this metal residue is now coagulated and it's just destroying the saw. Clean this stuff up every day, people, come on. This is what a semester or part of a semester worth of student use has done to this machine. Ugh. Here's an initial cleaning, getting all that rust and gunk off. I've got to do more scrubbing, but I took a lot of WD-40 to it and scraped up as much as I could. But we're getting closer. Need to rinse it down and wash off the WD-40 residue and the rust residue and really clean out in all these troughs. But oh my God, it was just awful, wasn't it? It was awful. This is still pretty crappy, but it's better than it was. And all the parts move now, which is important. It was rusted shut so that it wouldn't pivot into miter positions, and the vise was rusted shut because of too much moisture. Gotta take better care of this thing. And I thought a few metal shavings and light rust was bad. 2 or 3 months with absolutely no one cleaning the tool. Not once. All of the moisture and metal shavings need to be removed every day. I didn't get it on film, but the machine also had dozens of metal offcut pieces scattered around in the shavings and in the trough. Never let your offcut pieces build up around any of your tools. Have a trash collection bin nearby and put them directly into the bin as they come off of the cuts. If you let sawdust build up on the wood tools for a day or two, you aren't really creating any lasting damage to the tool. You're just being an a-hole and leaving a bigger mess for the sucker who has to clean up after you. But when you neglect any of the metalworking tools, especially this one with metal shavings and liquid coolant, you immediately degrade the tool and reduce its life expectancy as well as its ability to produce accurate cuts. Clean this tool every day. Clean up all metal shavings. Vacuum into the cracks and corners. Wipe the tool down to remove any coolant moisture residue. Exercise the vise. Exercise the miter movement. Better yet, always leave the miter in an odd position so that the next user needs to return it to 0 for their 90-degree cuts. This will ensure that it is frequently moving through positions and less likely to lock up and freeze in place from neglect. Clean the coolant filters and sieves. Check the coolant level and top off as needed. Replace the coolant and clean out the container when it begins to look sludgy. Always return any standard components on the machine. Someone keeps removing the hold down support and misplacing that part and its mounting bolts in order to make miter cuts. Consider turning your miter the other direction. In any case, put it back on after you're done making all of your cuts. Always restore your machine when you are done with it. Let's get back to August when I was able to do a normal daily cleaning rather than this rescue cleaning from last semester's neglect. We can get a chip brush of some kind. These are really cheap disposable paint brushes. We usually use these at the drill press to keep the drill press table clean, and they are great for keeping this clean. Look at that, all these shavings just brush away. You can see where some of it is built up and left rust marks already. And I've only had this machine for a year. And this is what happens with neglectful use of it. We'll take some photos of these back sides. where all this rust is building up. Really, really bad neglect. Get all these metal shavings off of here. And we can vacuum it out as well when we're all done. All this stuff has to go. All these metal shavings will also interfere with the ability for the machine to do its miter cuts and rotate to those miter positions. This one's a little different than the other machines, and I'll go over this again when I go through the features of it. It's got a lock lever here. And when you pull the lock lever, release it, this vise stays put. It's only the head of the saw that pivots. It should not be that hard to move. It definitely should not be that hard to move. I think the saw needs some lubrication on this part so it can slide a little bit better. All the water and liquid and coolant has rusted it and made it not a happy thing. What we don't want to do is come out here with a wire brush and scrape off all the paint, make this rust worse. We could come up with a plastic scraper or something and try and scrape off some of the crusty bits, and then we're going to vacuum it out. I don't have a plastic scraper, so I'm going to gently use a metal scraper and scrape some of this rust buildup off. Where all that buildup has happened, and in here, scrape some of this out. That's where it likes to build up the most. And back here. We're going to get the shop vac and vacuum out as much of that metal residue as possible. There's some metal residue back here as well. It's not sucking up. All right, that's better. That's the way we want it. We always want to leave it that way. Clean all that off at the end of every single day, especially with this tool. You can't let it pile up. You can let sawdust pile up because it's not going to rust your tool, but all of this residue is going to rust and ruin and deteriorate the tool. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time with more technical theater content.